I've been a long-haul trucker for just over 4 years now. Trucking was never supposed to be a career path for me. It's one I'm grateful I took. I never really liked being around other people, let alone interacting with them. I guess when you grow up being picked on, made to feel like a social outcast, you eventually realize solitude is the best friend you could possibly have. I didn't even go to public college. Once high school was ultimately in the rearview window, the idea of being surrounded by douchey, pretentious kids my age did not sit well with me. I instead studied online, but even after my degree, I was still determined to avoid human contact by any means necessary. After weighing my future options, I eventually came upon a life-changing epiphany. What career is more lonely than traveling the roads of America as an honest-to-God working-class trucker? Not much else was my answer. I'd spend weeks on the road all on my own, while in theory being my own boss. Honestly, the trucker life sounded completely ideal. With a fancy IT degree and a white clean driving record, I eventually found employment for a company in Phoenix. All year long, I would haul cargo through Arizona's Sonoran Desert to the crumbling society that is California, with very little human interaction whatsoever. I loved being on the road for hours on end. Despite the occasional traffic, I welcomed the silence of the humming roads and highways. Hell, I was so into the trucker way of life, I even dressed like one. You know, the flannel shirt, baseball cap, lack of shaving or any personal hygiene. My diet was basically gas station junk food and any drink that had caffeine in it. Don't get me wrong, trucking is still a very demanding job. There's deadlines to meet, crippling fatigue of long hours constantly checklisting the working parts of your truck. Even though I welcome the silence and solitude of long-haul trucking, sometimes the loneliness gets to me. I don't like admitting that to myself. But even the most reclusive people get lonely too, every so often. Nevertheless, I still love the trucker way of life. But what I love the most about this job, more than anything else, is driving through the empty desert. The silence, the natural beauty of the landscape. The desert affords you the right balance of solitude. Just you and nature. You either feel transported back in time among the first settlers of the West, or to the distant future on a far-off desert planet. You lose your thoughts in the desert. It absolves you of them. Like any old job, you learn on it. I learned sleep is key. That every minute detail of a routine inspection is essential. But the most important thing I learned came from an interaction with a fellow trucker in a gas station. Standing in line on a painfully busy afternoon, a bearded gentleman turns around in front of me, cradling a six-pack beneath the sleeve of his food-stained hoodie. "Is that your rig right out there? A red one?" the man inquired. Yeah, it is," I confirmed reservedly. "You haven't been doing this long, have you?" he determined, acknowledging my age and unnecessarily dark bags under my eyes. "I swear the truckers in this country are getting younger by the year. Most don't last more than 6 months. They can't handle long miles on their own. They fill out an application and expect it to be a cakewalk." At first thought the older and more experienced trucker was trying to scare me out of a job. He probably didn't like the idea of kids from my generation, with our modern privileges and half-assed work ethics replacing working-class Joes like him that keep the country running. I didn't blame him for that. I was actually in agreement. Keeping my eyes down to the dirt-trodden floor, I then peered up to the man in front of me, late to realize he is no longer talking and is instead staring in a manner that demanded my attention. "Let me give you some advice, sonny. The best advice you'll need for the road. Treat that rig of yours like it's your home, because it is. You'll spend more time in there than anywhere else in the next 20 years. I didn't know it at the time, but I would have that exact same conversation on a monthly basis. Truckers at gas stations or rest areas asking how long I've been trucking for, or when my first tire blowout was. That wouldn't be for at least a few months. But the weirdest trucker conversations I ever experienced were the ones I inadvertently eavesdropped on. Apparently, the longer you've been trucking, the more strange and ineffable experiences you have. I'm not talking about the occasional truck jacking attempt or hitchhiker pickup. I'm talking about the unexplained. Overhearing a particular conversation at a rest area, I heard one trucker say to another that during his last job, trucking from Oregon to Washington, he was driving through the mountains, when, seemingly out of nowhere, a tall, hairy figure made its presence known.
I swear to good Lord, the goddamn thing looked like an ape. Truckers in the Northwest see him all the time.
That's nothing, replied the other trucker. I knew a guy who worked through Ohio that said he ran over what he thought was a big dog. Next thing, the muck gets up and hobbles away on 2 back legs. Crazy bastard said he looked like a werewolf. I've heard other things from truckers too. Strange inhuman encounters, ghostly apparitions appearing on the side of the highway. The apparitions always appear to be the same: a thin woman with long dark hair, wearing a pale white dress. Luckily, I had never experienced anything remotely like that. All I had was the road, the desert. I never really believed in that stuff anyway. I didn't believe in Bigfoot or the Ohio Dogman, nor did I believe our government's secretly controlled by shape-shifting lizard people. Maybe I was open to the idea of ghosts, but as far as I was concerned, the supernatural didn't exist. It's not that I was a skeptic or anything. I just didn't respect life enough for something like the paranormal to be a real thing. But all that would change through one unexpected and very human encounter. By this point in my life, I had been a trucker for around 3 years. Just as it had always been, I picked up cargo from Phoenix and journeyed through highways, towns, and deserts until reaching my destination in California. I really hated California. Not just its desert, but the people, the towns and cities. I hated everything it was supposed to stand for. The American dream that hides an underbelly of so much that's wrong with our society. God, I don't even know what I'm saying. I guess I'm just bitter. A bitter, lonesome trucker traveling the roads. I just made my 3rd haul of the year driving from Arizona to North California. Once the cargo was dropped, I then looked forward to going home and gaining some much-needed time off. Making my way through SoCal that evening, I decided was going to drive through the night and keep going the next day. Not that I was supposed to. Not stopping that night meant I'd surpass my 11 allocated hours. Pretty reckless, I know. I was now on the outskirts of some town I hated passing through. Thankfully, this was the last unbearable town on my way to reaching the state border, a mere 2 hours away. A radio station was blasting through the speakers to keep me alert, when suddenly, on the side of the road, a shape appears from the darkness and through the headlights. No, it wasn't an apparition or some cryptid. It was just a hitchhiker. The first thing I see being their outstretched arm and a thumb. I've had my own personal rules since becoming a trucker, and not picking up hitchhikers has always been one of them. You just never know who might be getting into your rig. Just as I'm ready to drive past them, I was surprised to look down from my cab and see the thumb of the hitchhiker belonged to a girl. A girl no older than 16 years old. God, what's this kid doing out here at the time of night? I thought to myself. Once I pass her, I then look back to the girl's reflection in my side mirror, only to fear the worst. Any creep in a car could offer her a ride. What sort of trouble had this girl gotten herself into if she was willing to hitch a ride at this hour? I just wanted to keep on driving. Who this girl was or what she was doing was none of my business. But for some reason I just couldn't let it go. This girl was a perfect stranger to me. Nevertheless, she was the one who needed a stranger's help. God damn it, I thought. Don't do it. Don't be a good Samaritan. Just keep driving to the state border. That's what they pay you for. Already breaking one trucking regulation that night, I was now on the brink of breaking my own. When I finally give in to a moral conscience, I'm surprised to find my turn signal is blinking as I prepare to pull over. After beeping my horn to get the girl's attention, I watch through the side mirror as she quickly makes her way over. Once I see her approach, I open the passenger door for her to climb inside.
"Hey, thanks,"
the girl exclaims as she crawls her way up into the cab. It was only now, up close, did I realize how young this girl was. Her stature was smaller than I first thought, making me think she must be no older than 15. In no mood to make small talk with a random kid I just picked up, I get straight to the point and ask how far they're needing to go.
"Oh, well, that depends," she says. "Where is it you're going?"
"Arizona," I replied.
"That's great,"
says the girl spontaneously.
"I need to get to New Mexico."
Why this girl was needing to get to New Mexico I didn't know, nor did I ask. Phoenix was still a 3-hour drive from the state border, and I'll be damned if I was going to drive her that far. "I can only take you as far as the next town," I said unapologetically.
"Oh, well that's okay,"
she replied before giggling.
"It's not like I'm in a position to negotiate, right?"
No, she was not. Continuing to drive to the next town, the silence inside the cab kept us separated. Although I'm usually welcoming to a little peace and quiet, when the silence is between you and another person, the lingering awkwardness sucks the air right out of the room. Therefore, I felt an unfamiliar urge to throw a question or two her way. "Not that it's my business or anything, but what's a kid your age doing by the side of the road at this time of night?"
"It's like I said, I need to get to New Mexico."
"Do you have family there?" I asked, hoping internally that was the reason.
No,
was her chirpy response. "Well, are you a runaway?" I then inquired, as though we were playing a game of 21 questions.
I guess. But that's not why I'm going to New Mexico."
Quickly becoming tired of this game, I then stopped with the questioning. "That's alright," I said. "It's not exactly any of my business."
"No, it's not that. It's just..."
The girl pauses before continuing on.
"If I told you the real reason, you'd think I was crazy."
"And why would I think that?" I asked, already back to playing the game.
"Well, the last person to give me a ride certainly thought so."
That wasn't a good sign, I thought. Now afraid to ask any more of my remaining questions, I simply let the silence refill the cab. This was an error on my part, because the girl clearly saw the silence as an invitation to continue.
"Alright, I'll tell you," she went on. "You look like the kind of guy who believes this stuff anyway. But in case you're not, you have to promise not to kick me out when I do."
"I'm not going to leave some kid out in the middle of nowhere," I reassured her, "even if you are crazy." I worried that last part sounded a little insensitive.
"Okay, well, here it goes."
The girl again chooses to pause, as though for dramatic effect, before she then tells me her reason for hitchhiking across 2 states.
"I'm looking for aliens."
Aliens? Did she really just say she's looking for aliens? Please tell me this kid's pulling my chain.
"Yeah, extraterrestrials,"
she then clarified, like I didn't already know what the hell aliens were. I assumed the girl was joking with me. After all, New Mexico supposedly had a UFO crash land in the desert once upon a time, And so, rather half-assedly, I played along. Why are you looking for aliens? As I wait patiently for the girl's juvenile response, that's when she said what I really wasn't expecting.
Well, I was abducted by them.
Great. Now we're playing a whole new game, I thought. But then she continues.
I was only 9 years old when it happened. I was fast asleep in my room when all of a sudden, I wake up to find these strange creatures lurking over me.
Wait, is she really going to continue the story? I guess she doesn't realize the joke's been overplayed.
Next thing I know, I'm in this bright metallic room with curves instead of corners, and I realize I'm tied down on top of some surface because I can't move. It's like I was paralyzed.
Hold on a minute, I now thought concernedly.
Then these creatures were over me again. I could see them so clearly. They're monstrous. Their arms were thin and spindly, sort of like insects, but their skin was pale and hairless. They weren't very tall, but their eyes were so large. It was like I was staring into a black abyss.
Okay, this has gone on long enough, I again thought to myself, declining to say it out loud.
One of them injected a needle into my arm. It was so thin and sharp, I barely even felt it. But then I saw one of them was holding some kind of instrument. They pressed it against my ear, and the next thing I was feeling was an excruciating pain inside my head.
Stop right now, I need to say to her. This was not funny anymore. Nor was it ever.
I wanted to scream so badly, but I couldn't. I couldn't move. I was so afraid. And then one of them spoke to me. They spoke to me with their mind. They said it would be all over soon and there was nothing to be afraid of. It would be over soon.
Okay, you can stop now. That's enough. I get it. I finally interrupted.
You think I'm joking, don't you?
The girl now asked me, calmness surprisingly in her voice.
Well, I wish I was joking, but I'm not.
I really had no idea what to think at this point. This girl had to be messing with me. Only she was taking it way too far, and if she wasn't, if she really thought aliens had abducted her, then shit. Without a clue what to do or say next, I just simply played along and humored her. At least that was better than confronting her on a lie. Have you told your parents you were abducted by aliens?
Not at first, she admitted. But I kept waking up screaming in the middle of the night. It got so bad, they had to take me to a psychiatrist, and that's when I told them.
It was this point in the conversation that I finally processed the girl wasn't joking with me. She was being 100% serious, and although she was just a kid, I now felt very unsafe.
They thought maybe I was schizophrenic, she continued. But I was later diagnosed with PTSD. When I kept repeating my abduction story, they said whatever happened to me was so traumatic my mind created a fantastical event so to deal with it.
Yep, she's not joking. This girl I picked up by the road was completely insane. It's just my luck, I thought. The first hitchhiker I stopped for, and they're a crazy person. God, why couldn't I have picked up a murderer instead? At least then it would be quick. After the girl confessed all of this to me, I must have gone silent for a while, and rightly so, because breaking the awkward silence inside the cab, the girl then asked me,
So, do you believe in aliens?
Not unless I see them with my own eyes, I admitted, keeping my eyes firmly on the road. I was too uneasy to even look at her.
That's okay. A lot of people don't. But then again, a lot of people do.
I sensed she was going to continue on the topic of extraterrestrials, and I, for one, was not prepared for it.
The government practically confirmed it a few years ago, you know. They released military footage capturing UFOs. Well, you're supposed to call them UAPs now, but I prefer UFOs.
The next town was still another 20 minutes away, and I just prayed she wouldn't continue with this for much longer.
You've heard all about the Roswell incident, haven't you?
I have. That was partially a lie. I just didn't want her to explain it to me.
Well, that's when the whole UFO craze began. Once we developed nuclear weapons, people were seeing flying saucers everywhere. They're very concerned with our planet, you know. It's partially because they live here too.
Great, now she thinks they live among us. Next, I suppose she'll tell me she was an alien.
You know all those cattle mutilations? Well, they're real too. You can see pictures of them online.
Cattle mutilations? That's where we're at now. Good God, just shoot and rob me already.
They're always missing the same body parts. An eye, part of their jaw, their reproductive organs.
Are you sure it wasn't just scavengers? I skeptically thought to ask. Not that I wanted to encourage this conversation any further.
You know, it's not just cattle that are mutilated. It's us too.
Don't even go there.
I was one of the lucky ones. Some people are abducted, then returned. Some don't return at all, but some return not all in one piece.
I should have said something. I should have told her to stop. This was my rig, and if I wanted her to stop talking, all I had to do was say it.